Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Nick Petro, the National Weather Service in Raleigh, with your weekly impact weather briefing with expanded coverage for potential tropical cyclone number 10. And this briefing is as of 11:30 this morning and Monday, August 28th. So we sent a briefing out earlier this morning, and that briefing, what's changed since that briefing is the new flash flood watch and new wind advisory that have been issued for portions of central North Carolina. So let's just jump at roll. Before I do that, here's the 11 o'clock advisory from the National Hurricane Center as well, on the right side of the screen, showing potential tropical cyclone 10. And you can see there on the current forecast projection of the track of that system. It takes that system basically along the Carolina coast right through rest of today through Tuesday morning, and moves it east of North Carolina and offshore by late tomorrow, Tuesday evening. Now, there are, of course, tropical storm warnings for the Outer Banks and the Sounds, and tropical storm watches for the rest of the Carolina coast down to South Carolina. So certainly, this is a quickly evolving situation, and certainly we'll be issuing additional briefings as we head through the day. So let's just kind of jump right into what we think in terms of forecast rain, flooding potential. And you can see there on this slide, we do have a flash flood watch for a large portion of eastern North Carolina and portions of the I-95 corridor, which are the new additions to that flash flood watch. Now, that runs through 8 p.m. tomorrow, and the map at the bottom shows the total rainfall amounts that we're expecting. And I suspect those numbers with this afternoon forecast update, we're going to see those numbers be adjusted upward. So when I send out the briefing at 4 o'clock later this afternoon, the updated slides, I suspect we're going to see somewhat higher numbers than what we're showing here. Our forecasters are in a process of updating those forecast maps. But the bottom line here is eastern portions of central North Carolina is where we expect, and obviously eastern North Carolina as well, is where we think that flood threat area is, with flooded roadways in urban areas. Really the main concern, poor drainage areas, the typical low-lying spots. If in your area you have a low-lying spot that floods, easily, those are the areas that are probably most likely to see any type of flooding here as we head through the next 24 to 30 hours or so. Speaking of timing, we are expecting the rain to move in later today. So the risk for this heavy rain and possible localized flooding, we think will be from later this evening, overnight tonight, through about midday Tuesday. So that's the concern, the time that we are most concerned about the potential for any type of flash flooding or flooding of low spots, again, from later this evening, particularly overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. So tomorrow morning's rush hour could be a little tricky. We'll have to see about that. And then the storm should be exiting during the afternoon, so that should wrap up any risk for flash flooding. So that's what we have timing in terms of forecast, rainfall amounts, and where we have our watches out right now. The other concern is wind. So, because these because the rain is coming in these bands, sort of a tropical nature. When the bands with the heavier rain move through, that's when we would see an increase of wind and wind gusts. So it's not going to be blowing, up to 40 miles an hour, for the next 24 to 30 hours. This will be occurring with any of the rain bands. So when it's raining heavy, that's when we think that we may see gusts up to 40 miles per hour. So we do have a wind advisory in effect for the coastal plain region, I-95 corridor. That's through 8 p.m. tomorrow through Tuesday. We're expecting wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour. So while 40 miles per hour may not seem like a lot of wind, generally speaking, that wouldn't be a lot of wind, but 40 miles per hour combined with some wet grounds could result in some downed trees and subsequent power outages, down power lines, resulting in isolated to scattered power outages. So again, when is that going to be? That's going to be later this evening, overnight tonight, through about midday Tuesday is when we think those heavier bands, the heavier rain bands, will move in. Now, the heavier rain bands would bring the heaviest rain, the issue for localized flash flooding and these wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour. So it's all associated with the bands when they rotate through. All right, so kind of summarizing this into a table, the main points again, some minor wind damage with some downed trees, power lines, power outages possible across the southern central coastal plain, mainly along and east of the I-95 corridor from late this evening through about midday Tuesday. Of course, same story there with the flash flooding risk. Now, obviously, you're probably thinking, well, that rain's got to go somewhere. Is that going to end up in river flooding? And that, that's a possibility. I mean, we can't rule that out right now. The hydrographs, which I don't have in this briefing right now, they don't show any flooding, but as we get a better handle on rainfall, that may change. So that would be from later tomorrow through midweek if it occurs at all. So the Cape Fear, Tar, and Lower Neuse basins are the river basins that we're probably most concerned with. And again, that would be mostly minor flooding, because the rainfall amounts we're expecting, 2 to 5 inches in general. Let me back up. I'm not sure if I conveyed that well enough, but generally speaking, about 2 to 5 inches of rain is what we're expecting. Again, east and mainly east of the Triangle region, the I-95 corridor. So 2 to 5 inches of rain is kind of what we're thinking. So anyway, with the isolated, downed trees and wind gusts, there could be a few scattered power outages. So here is, again, just a kind of another way to convey where we think the greatest impacts would occur. So wind and flash flooding is what we think have the elevated risk for occurrence. Limited river flooding risk, again, there's a lot of uncertainty and low confidence with that at this time. So let's wrap this up into a summary. Rain bands will move into the area this evening, with some of those bands containing heavy rain from late tonight through about midday Tuesday. The greatest coverage of rain is expected from about the US 1 corridor eastward, with the heaviest rain in those bands along and east of the I-95 corridor. We expect all that to exit by Tuesday afternoon as that system exits offshore to our east. What about our confidence? Well, our confidence is pretty high in that happening. So the next bullet point here, in terms of rainfall amount, 2 to 5 inches is expected along and east of I-95, and that'll bring the risk for localized flash flooding of urban and poor drainage areas. Now, again, we want to remind everyone, and please, pass this along to everybody that you deal with and in your sphere of influence. Remind everybody never to drive through areas where water covers the roadways. That's where most flash flood deaths occur, in automobiles, in their cars. Our confidence in this happening is about medium, again, because this is all going to be tied into the rain bands. All right, so when the heavy rain bands move across, wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour may occur. There will likely be isolated pockets of downed trees and power lines, and that's most likely from later tonight through about midday Tuesday for areas along the I-95 corridor and eastward. What about our confidence? It's about medium, again, because pinpointing the exact area where those bands are going to roll through right now is challenging at best. All right, when it comes to river flooding, minor flooding, the Cape Fear, Neuse, and Tar rivers and their tributaries can't be ruled out during the middle of the week, but mainly if we get more rain than what's currently expected. So anyway, that's an important point there, and our confidence is pretty, I would say, medium of that happening. All right, so that is in a summary. Now, we will issue an event-specific briefing update by 4 p.m. Later today, so check your email for that. It won't be a webinar, it'll just be distributed by email. All right, so on to the usual weekly impact weather briefing that we do every Monday. Typically, this briefing covers Monday through Sunday, but we're going to start this Wednesday through Sunday since we've already dealt with Monday and Tuesday at length here. So let's just go right through these slides here for the rest of the week. So, of course, we have 10 rolling up along the Carolina coast there in the upper left, exiting by midweek, and we're kind of keeping an eye on the remnant moisture from Harvey. Some of that moisture might get drawn northward and interact with a cold front that's going to stall across our area during the late week period, and perhaps even into the weekend. So we might see a bit of Harvey leftover rain, so to speak, come the latter portion of the week and into the weekend. But right now, the models are suggesting that rainfall amount-wise should be pretty light, maybe on the 1 to 2 inch range. In terms of severe thunderstorm potential, obviously thunderstorms are a possibility, but the marginal severe risk is confined to right along the coast. Outer rain bands of tropical systems often bring the risk for isolated tornadoes, so that'll have to be kept an eye on as well. In terms of rainfall, again, you can see the way it's shaping up there. The rain for later tonight into early Tuesday will be exiting on Tuesday. Wednesday should be dry. And then for Thursday and Friday, even into Saturday, you'll notice that rain kind of extending, the rain across southern portions of North Carolina extending westward. That's that remnant Harvey moisture interacting with the cold front. So, when you add it all up, we could see anywhere from 2 to 5 inches of rain with heavier amounts closer to the coast and east of I-95. So anyway, definitely potential for, multiple inches of rain. So what about beyond 10 and beyond Harvey? There's a system out there in the far eastern Atlantic that the National Hurricane Center is keeping an eye on. Pretty good chance that could develop into a tropical system that we'll be watching. Obviously, that's a long ways away, a good week or so away from any potential for proximity to the U.S. All right, so again, another way of looking ahead to next week, temperatures generally near normal with odds favoring above normal precip. All right, so summarizing for Wednesday through Sunday, again, we'll see a break in the weather on Wednesday, and then a slow-moving cold front combined with some remnant Harvey moisture could give us additional mainly light rain for central North Carolina Thursday through Saturday. While it won't be raining that entire time, again, an additional 1 to 2 inches of rain in spots is possible during that time. Temperatures will be held back, of course, by clouds and precipitation, and you can see the expectation for temperatures there at the bottom. So that wraps up this week's Monday morning weekly briefing with an emphasis on potential tropical cyclone 10. And certainly we'll be sending out these slides. This briefing is recorded, so I'll send out a link to that. We'll send out a copy of the slides, the PowerPoint slides, via PDF here. Shortly, they'll be posted to our website as well.